Is your magic meter running low? Well, we've got a cure for you. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and welcome to the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by laughingplace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on May 5th, 2021, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. New details on the Disney Wishes upcoming offerings, a return for Walt Disney World's college program, Disney's new Ultimate Princess celebration, and more. It's all coming your way right after this. We all love wearing our Disney mouse ears, Mad Hatters, and other silly headgear, but most of us won't be seen wearing such headgear outside of a Disney park. That's when some of the more subtle merch from Who's Its and What's Its comes into play. If you want to wear a bit of Disney-inspired magic on your head in your everyday life, check out the Apprentice Beret featuring the iconic blue topper with stars and a half moon. Disney fans will immediately recognize it, but you won't be getting any of those crazy looks like a Cars Land tire or traffic cone hat will get you. But it doesn't end with the Apprentice Beret. Who's Its and What's Its has numerous subtle hats and beanies to choose from over at who'sitswhatsits.com. And the news gets even better because if you use code DCTC when checking out, you'll save 15% off your entire order. I'm not just talking about a discount on the Apprentice Beret or one hat. I'm saying your entire order will save 15% just by using code DCTC. It's a great way to save yourself some money while supporting this very podcast at no additional cost to you. So go ahead, click on the link in this episode's description, and don't forget to use code DCTC.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
First up, the wonderful world of Disney has returned for another round of special programming. The latest installment kicked off this past Monday with a broadcast of Incredibles 2, and will continue with Finding Dory on May 10th, Monsters, Inc. on May 17th, Tangled on May 24th, and The Princess and the Frog on May 31st. Each of these airings will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, but there will be no Eisner-like introduction from Bob Chapek. Of course, each of these selections is also available to stream anytime on Disney+. Hulu is suiting up for a new series inspired by the long-running hit CBS show How I Met Your Mother. This time around, Hilary Duff will star in the show titled How I Met Your Father, which will follow Duff's character Sophie. Much like Ted Mosby narrated the original show, this version revolves on Sophie telling her son how she met his dad. Isaac Aptaker and Elizabeth Berger will write and executive produce the series, with Duff also serving as a producer. While Hulu has ordered a 10-episode first season for How I Met Your Father, no air date has been announced yet. 2 new Disney Plus original series will premiere as part of the Tribeca Festival 2021 as the event celebrates its 20th anniversary. Monsters at Work and The Mysterious Benedict Society will debut as a double feature in the Tribeca TV category on Sunday, June 20th. These premieres come just ahead of public releases for both shows, with The Mysterious Benedict Society kicking off on June 25th, and Monsters at Work set to arrive on July 2nd. Following the success of Hamilton on Disney Plus and the upcoming release of Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, Disney is reportedly looking to adapt another stage musical. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Disney has closed a deal for the rights to the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee and is planning a live-action film version based on the Broadway show. Dan Lin and Jonathan Eyrick, who previously produced the live-action Aladdin remake, will be producing along with Ryan Halprin as executive producer. The musical was a hit when it debuted on The Great White Way in 2005, earning 6 Tony nominations with 2 wins, including Best Book. Currently, Disney is apparently looking for filmmakers to tackle the project, with no other details available just yet. So we'll just need to be a bit patient. Disney is apparently also getting closer to bringing another version of the classic attraction, The Haunted Mansion, to the big screen, as Justin Simien is said to be in talks to direct the film. Some of Simien's notable credits include the critically acclaimed film Dear White People, as well as the Sundance horror film Bad Hair, which was acquired by Hulu last year. According to Deadline, this Haunted Mansion would be completely different from the 2003 film starring Eddie Murphy, and is seemingly also separate from the version Guillermo del Toro first announced in 2010. When it was confirmed that both Disenchanted and Hocus Pocus 2 were moving forward, it looked as though director Adam Shankman would have quite a busy schedule ahead of him. However, it now seems that Shankman is stepping away from one of the two projects. According to a report from Diz Insider, Shankman will no longer direct the Hocus Pocus sequel. Instead, Anne Fletcher is apparently stepping in to helm the film. This would hopefully imply that the filming is set to kick off sooner rather than later, but no official word has been released. In a somewhat surprising turn of events, Sony and Disney have announced a new licensing agreement that will eventually see some of the studio's films, including Spider-Man movies, coming to Disney Plus and other platforms. The deal covers theatrical releases from 2022 to 2026 and begins for each film following its Pay 1 TV window. With Sony also recently reaching a deal with Netflix for the Pay 1 TV window, this likely means that movies will arrive on Netflix first before making their way to Disney Plus and Disney-owned stations later on. However, the agreement also gives Disney access to a number of library titles as early as this June. Since this deal is a bit confusing, we'll likely need to wait and see what it means in terms of Sony content on Hulu, Disney Plus, and beyond. If you didn't happen to catch the season finale of Disney Plus's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you may want to cover your ears for this next story. Okay, here we go. Following the reveal that Sam Wilson has taken up the mantle of Captain America, a fourth Cap film is reportedly now in development. Malcolm Spellman, writer and showrunner for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is set to co-write the script for the film alongside Dallin Mewson, who was a staff writer on the show. Meanwhile, in other quick Marvel news, the studio has announced official titles for two upcoming sequels. Captain Marvel 2 will be titled The Marvels, and the highly anticipated Black Panther 2 will now appropriately be named Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Speaking of Black Panther, the King Chad mural featuring the late Chadwick Boseman and a young fan has now found a new home. While the artwork was previously seen at Downtown Disney, it will now be permanently displayed at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. This was made possible by artist and former Disney Imagineer Nicholas Smith donating the piece to the hospital. In a statement, Smith said, "It's just a huge honor for me personally to be able to donate this piece of art to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, where I know it will inspire patients going through treatments and serve as a reminder of not only Chadwick's heart, but also his relatable struggle with cancer. To see my art getting to live on at such a special place where it can bring hope to others, it is truly one of the greatest gifts I could receive." This month, Walt Disney World will be celebrating Asian Pacific American Heritage Month with special offerings. At Disney Springs, Amaret's patisserie pastry sous chef Jesse Sutsa Nguyen, who is originally from Bangkok, Thailand, has created a special jasmine tea cream tart for the month. Other unique menu items added for the celebration include a Mulan petite cake, also at Amaret's, matcha yuzu ganache square at the Ganachery, Korean barbecue fries at the Daily Poutine, and more. Over at the Art of Disney, a spotlight series will feature Asian Pacific American filmmakers, artists, authors, and screenwriters who work or have worked at the Walt Disney Animation Studio. Elsewhere, guests can also find special items at Epcot, catch Mira the Royal Detective in the Disney Junior Motorcade at Disney's Hollywood Studios, spot Moana and Mulan at Magic Kingdom, and much more. For details on all of the A World of Voices honoring Asian Pacific American Heritage Month at Walt Disney World offerings, you can check out the Disney Parks blog. Last week, Disney announced the launch of the Ultimate Princess Celebration, a multi-year global campaign highlighting the kindness, courage, and bravery of the Disney princesses that will include music, merchandise, and so much more. Among the numerous parts of the promotion, fans can currently download a new storybook collection, Tales of Courage and Kindness, for free by visiting princess.disney.com. Plus, later this month, singer and Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella star Brandy will release the new single Starting Now in conjunction with the celebration. Then, this fall, Disney Concerts will present Disney Princess The Concert, a nationwide tour featuring Broadway and animated film icons such as Susan Egan, Courtney Reed, Aisha Jackson, Cindy Winters, Christy Altimore, and Laura Osnes. The tour kicks off this November with dates currently scheduled through April 2022. Tickets for select shows go on sale to the public on May 7th. Disneyland Paris has revealed that the Disneyland Hotel will undergo a refurbishment to be rethemed with the stories of Disney princesses like Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. The transformation will not only bring a princess theme to the hotel rooms, but public spaces will also receive a new layout. There will be a larger pool area, restaurants and bars will be updated to the new theming, and there will be an expanded spa. Previously, other Disneyland Paris hotels have taken inspiration from Disney properties, with Hotel Santa Fe adding Cars theming, Toy Story elements being brought to Hotel Cheyenne, and the Hotel New York set to soon reopen as Hotel New York: The Art of Marvel. Walt Disney World has rolled out its new Disney Magic Mobile feature to select Google Pay-enabled Android phones. This technology allows guests to create a digital park pass on their phones and use their device in place of a Magic Band. In order to use Disney Magic Mobile, Android devices must be Google Pay enabled. Meanwhile, guests can still use a plastic park ticket or Magic Band for park entry, FastPass Plus, and more. Alrighty, folks, it's that time to bring back in Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, Jeff.
No, you gotta sing my name the way I did yours.
Hello, Jeffrey.
All right, I accept. Cool.
Sorry. Let me reference our last episode.
I'll tell you what, quite a few people enjoyed the foghorn impression. So they will be very happy with the return of that. And if somebody didn't listen to last week's episode, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, they're very confused. But you know what? The foghorn reference leads perfectly into this first bit of news. I don't even know if you did that on purpose. But let's talk about the Disney Wish, because this, of course, will be the newest Disney cruise ship. It is the 5th ship setting sail in the summer of 2022. And they had a whole marketing video, this whole thing that you could watch online. And, you know, it's so funny. We were actually texting back and forth a little bit during this because, I mean, it was super cheesy. And I get it. Disney fans are cheesy. Walt Disney himself was cheesy. And there's even a quote about how he likes being cheesy. But, oh my God, the cheese level was through the roof for this video.
Yeah, definitely lots of puns and lots of those sort of teases where they'll say just like one word and be like, but we can't say any more. So yeah, it was definitely very marketing heavy. It seems like one of the things that they might, if it had a little bit more information, like one of the things that you'd get like a free DVD of to watch.
Oh, remember those days? I remember I used to send away for those a lot. In fact, I used to do it when they were VHS tapes, and I held on to them for a long time. But yeah, those vacation planning videos, the VHS, then the DVDs, and now, of course, it's all digital. So they save a ton of money, but it's not nearly as cool as getting that package in the mail, I will say. But it was a pretty cool marketing video with a lot of information. One thing, before we get into the stuff they talked about, I'm curious. So the fairy godmother was one of the characters featured in this video because, of course, Cinderella is the statue in the atrium there. And when did she become like a rhyming character? She always rhymes, I feel like, when we see her now. I'm like, she doesn't do that in the movie unless she's singing Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
That's true. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention because, so to get a little inside baseball here, when the thing was airing, we had one person live blogging it, and my job was to get screenshots because, of course, they're going to release images later, but we can get the screenshots in the meantime. So I was only paying attention when I knew that they were going to be showing concept art and getting those. I did not notice that she was rhyming.
Oh, that's
I noticed that she was annoying, but I didn't know she was rhyming.
Yeah, she was rhyming the whole time, and I was like, when did this become a thing for Fairy Godmother? And I feel like some of the castle shows that she's part of, she rhymes as well. And I was like, yeah, this was obviously a choice that, like, Fairy Godmother is a rhymer now. But I'm always curious when, it reminds me of, like, when characters' colors change. You ever notice this? How, like, Jiminy Cricket is now green, even though in the film he's not, and Ursula is very often purple, even though in the film she's not. I find it strange and weird when those choices are just made and people are like, yeah, sure, that's the thing now. But anyway, there's so much news to get to, so let's get to it. I'm going to start with the upper deck, and this is, to me, the biggest news to come from it, the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse Aqua Mouse Ride, which is 760 feet of winding tubes. This is kind of cool.
This is very cool sounding. I'm really interested to see how it's executed, but just the concept, I think, is very fun.
Fair enough. I love the fact, because let's face it, we have the Aqua Duck on some of the other cruise ships, and that is essentially a water slide, but this is how they describe it. To say Mickey and Minnie are starting their very own seaside excursion company, aptly named Port Misadventures. Correct me if I'm wrong, is there not something Misadventures at Typhoon Lagoon?
I think there is.
I believe so.
I couldn't tell you exactly what it's called, and I feel like it's a more recent addition.
Yes, it's the one that has like an animatronic bird as part of it. Adventuresome cruisers will join them on an undersea excursion to Mermaid Lagoon that will inevitably and hilariously go awry. The journey will begin when guests board their two-seater ride vehicles and ascend into a magical tunnel that will teleport them into the cartoon world of Scuba Scramble, a new animated short that plays out through oversized virtual portholes. Along the way, they'll encounter curious sea creatures, familiar Disney friends, and more than 60 water effects that bring subaquatic hijinks to life, all perfectly synced to an original musical score. At the height of the show, guests will blast out of the tunnel and embark on a wild water ride around the upper decks. So it sounds like there's like kind of a dark ride portion, and it reminds me kind of Test Track or Radiator Springs Racers, where there's this kind of dark ride portion of it, and then the finale is we're going to shoot you real fast.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was also kind of thinking a little bit like Incredicoaster, with that has like some projections and small elements as you're going by. Like they're talking about virtual portholes. Like I don't know if it feels like this is mostly going to be screens.
Yeah, I would assume so. It's going to be, LED screens inside an enclosed tube. I just think this is super ambitious and super fun, and this is next level cruise ship sort of stuff here. Like this was the first time I've only been on one Disney cruise, but this was the first time like they announced a new ship, and there was stuff on this that I was like, man, I kind of really specifically want to go on this ship. Like I've never felt that way about one of the Disney cruise ships. Maybe I just haven't paid enough attention, but this was the first one that I was like, yeah, there are things particular to this ship that make it sound very exciting. And this is one of them.
Yeah, there have been a few with the others that have maybe come up in more recent years, whether it's a specific show or like the restaurants. Some of them have the same one. Some of them have different things as they do the dry dock refurbishments. But I think you're right. Like overall, just hearing everything that this has that I know that the other ones don't, it makes me excited to go on this one specifically.
Yeah, let's see. At the height of the show, guests will blast out of the tunnel and embark on a wild water ride around the upper decks. First, they'll zip into the forward funnel through an enclosed tube surrounded by dazzling lighting effects, followed by a quick dash through a dark tunnel that opens up to reveal breathtaking views of the ocean. They'll then jet up and down a series of speed blasters as they're propelled toward the grand finale, a soaring loop over the edge of the ship with clear views down to the deep blue sea. With that, they'll splash down for a send-off message from Mickey and Minnie, another successful tour in the books. I love this. It sounds like they're going to have some of that propulsion technology. I think they do it with magnets, but I did this at Volcano Bay over at Universal, and I'm going to assume, I don't know, do some of the water parks at Walt Disney World have this? I'm not sure, but like I loved the sensation of, they call it like a water slide roller coaster, because like even as you're going on an incline, they're like pushing you up it, like you're going at speeds. It's so much fun, and that's what this sounds like, and I'm very excited for this. It's like I'm more excited for this than Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Like I'm sure it won't be as technologically advanced, but this sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, that sounds fair. I don't remember the last time I went to a water park, so I'm not up on all these latest technologies, but it sounds fun. It sounds kind of thrilling. I mean, they might talk it up a bit more in the marketing jargon than it'll actually be, but it sounds like it'll be, a fair, amount of thrill there too for a water slide, without being like one of those that's at a steep angle. And
a humunga like cowabunga, yeah. No, I know that the aqueduct goes over the edge of the ship as well, and it's a clear tube like over the ocean. And frankly, like that kind of scares me. It freaks me out a little bit. So I would need a little bit of courage to go on this one, I think. But I mean, this sounds too cool not to do. Very, very exciting.
See, that sort of a thing doesn't scare me that much. I guess I have too much faith in plastics and glass. Because there's like, like the skywalk at the CN Tower in Toronto, like just pieces of glass, and people are like afraid to step on them. Like, it's not going to break. Like, it's cool to look down. Like, I don't know. I have lots of fears, obviously, that we've discussed, but that's not one of them.
Heights is not one of them. All right, cool. Of course, this ship will have a Disney's Oceaneer Club. They say they're, doing it up differently than a lot of the others. They're going to have a Marvel Superhero Academy. It's a high-tech Avengers headquarters where young recruits will train to be the next generation of superheroes with the help of their own real-life heroes like Spider-Man, Black Panther, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. Kids will begin by choosing a superhero suit from a selection of power sets based on Marvel heroes like Iron Man, Captain Marvel, and watching their choices become nanotech forms around mannequins in real time. Then it'll be time for Avengers Mission Training, a gesture-based technology game where they put their new suits and skills to the test as they virtually battle bad guys. Answer this for me. What rating are Marvel movies usually?
PG-13.
Okay, so I guess kids watch them?
I guess so. I mean, they're PG-13, probably more for the action. Some have more language than others. Like, even comparing WandaVision to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's definitely a language difference. Mm-hmm. But yes, I've always thought that was a little weird too, especially when, I think it was on 24-Hour Day, they were doing like a Marvel marathon in one of the theaters at Disneyland. I'm like, it's kind of strange that they're showing PG-13 films inside of Disneyland. I don't know why.
That is weird, but I don't know. They just seem to be gearing more and more because this is for, this is not for adults to do. This is for kids.
I know. Why do you have to remind me?
This is specifically for kids. So I do find it interesting. They do seem to be leaning more and more toward gearing Marvel stuff to kids. And I don't know. I'm like, a PG-13 isn't that horrible of a rating, but it's not for young kids anyway. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting that they're doing that.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things where kids probably don't pay as close of attention to those films as they do to ones that are made for them. They might not watch it a lot. They just have aspirations.
They know the characters more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, on the other end of the spectrum, we got Fairy Tale Hall, where kids can let their creativity shine at Rapunzel's art studio, read and act out stories at Belle's library, and test newfound icy powers at Anna and Elsa's summer house. So there's that. But here's the thing that really intrigues me, because I think this is the first of its kind, especially for kids. The Walt Disney Imagineering Lab is a first of its kind opportunity for kids to discover the secrets of world-renowned Disney Imagineers, the creative masterminds behind Disney theme parks, resorts, and cruise ships, with hands-on activities and inventive experiments. Sorcerer Mickey, the ambassador of Walt Disney Imagineering, may even stop by to lend a wand to the newly minted Magic Makers. One of the most exciting things Imagineers get to do is design roller coasters. At the Ride Studio, kids will create a coaster along the lines of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Space Mountain, or Matterhorn bobsleds, and then climb into a capsule where they'll virtually ride their imaginative masterpiece. A lot of you might have done this. I've done it at Disney Quest, right?
Yeah. Hyperspace Mountain, or not Hyperspace Mountain, Cyberspace Mountain, right?
Yeah, Cyberspace Mountain. I did that at Disney Quest years ago. It's a weird sensation because there's like no G-force. I don't know if that's the correct term or force that I'm speaking of, but like, I don't know. It's very weird to be like going upside down, but have like zero force. You're just like dangling there. It's a bizarre feeling, but I think this is interesting.
When they showed the concept art for it, it didn't look like it was an enclosed capsule like it was at Disney Quest. So I wonder if maybe I just didn't see it properly, but it seemed like it was more like an open thing, almost like, just like a much smaller simulator. So I don't know which is correct there, but I really like this idea. I wonder if they'll incorporate stuff from like the Khan Academy. Like they had that whole Imagineering course. I wonder if, they'll have these bigger attractions, but then maybe just have like a computer lab with some of those smaller lessons for kids to play with too.
I find it really interesting how like, in my mind, Imagineering is this thing that like, young adults start thinking about and getting into, and like, oh, that's a job. That's something I might want to do. I find it very interesting that now like they're gearing it toward children. Once again, something that isn't innately childlike. They're like, let's get the kids hooked. Let's develop these Imagineers at a young age now. So I find that fascinating.
STEM and STEAM are much larger now than they were when we were kids.
STEM and STEAM?
You not familiar?
No.
But basically the idea is, science, technology, and getting kids interested in things like coding and engineering and things like that.
Gotcha.
Because those are going to be the jobs. So it's fun and it's cool that it's Imagineering, but also it's being realistic. Like, it's different types of jobs that are going to be available when they graduate than are available now. But definitely when looking into the future when we were kids. Did you ever like taking the ASVAB test? Do you remember that?
I don't think I did, but I know what you're referring to, yeah. Interesting. Now, I've never been so excited for something Frozen in all my life with this next thing. Arendelle, a Frozen dining adventure. Only on the Disney Wish will families be invited to attend a royal engagement party for Queen Anna and Kristoff, picking up the story where Walt Disney Animation Studios' Frozen 2 left off. Designed in the style of a theater in the round, which I love, this purpose-built entertainment venue will feature dining tables situated around a small center stage and all the theatrical bells and whistles needed to bring a story to life in 360 degrees. Invisible fiber optics embedded in the ceiling will conjure Elsa's icy magic, and panoramic windows will magically transform from real-time ocean views to the colorful dancing lights of the Aurora Borealis. A culinary cabaret, Disney Cruise Line is developing brand new looks for Anna and Kristoff, plus an all-new way to encounter Olaf through true-to-scale, cutting-edge puppetry that can talk and interact with families as they dine, lending his signature humor and charm to the merriment. This sounds awesome. I love this. I think it's part of the package, right? I know that cruise lines have some higher end hotels restaurants that you can choose to buy into if you want, but I think this is just part of the standard package.
Yeah, I think this one was part of the rotation. I would say that it's not the one I'm most excited for, but
I know. We'll get to that. I know.
It looks cool.
Excited. I just love this idea of, they always talk about the live entertainment, the live shows on the Disney Cruise, and there's always, the 3 shows in the Walt Disney Theater. To me, this, and even the Marvel one that we're going to get to, these are like full-blown shows, the way they're describing them. And I think they're going to be pretty spectacular. And frankly, I want to see more of this type of stuff coming into the parks. Like, imagine if Be Our Guest was treated this way. I think that would be awesome. I love this concept of just dinner theater, and they've kind of done it in the past with like Animator's Palette and stuff with those restaurants. They have like little moments, but this sounds like a full-blown show that will be timed to the minute, and they know exactly how to get people in and out of there super quickly. It sounds spectacular to me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I've done a couple of small dinner theater things, and it is different, but I imagine that's how the cruise line already works, is that everyone's pretty much seated at the same time, and everyone gets courses at the same time, or, roughly the same time.
It's down to a science. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. One of the nicer restaurants is 1923, which is an elegant celebration of the company's legacy, paying homage to the golden age of animation and offering a tasteful tribute to its Californian heritage. Combining classic Hollywood glamour with a dash of Disney whimsy, 1923 features 2 lavishly appointed dining rooms aptly named for the men behind the magic of the original film studio, Walt and Roy Disney. Gotta love that. The rooms are adorned with more than 1,000 drawings, props, and other tools of the trade, providing an inside look at the evolution of Disney animation from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to Frozen 2. I just love that there's, whenever there's Walt history on there, and I love that Roy has his own room. We never hear enough about Roy, but, very important guy.
If it wasn't a cruise line, I'd say that the Roy one should have pricing on the menu and the Walt room shouldn't.
That's kind of genius. I like that. That's very funny. Worlds of Marvel. Is this what you're excited about?
Of course.
Is the first ever Marvel Cinematic Dining Adventure, where guests will play an interactive role in an action-packed Avengers mission that unfolds around them, complete with a worldly menu inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This upscale restaurant meets technology showcase will up the ante on the traditional dinner and a show concept. Outfitted with state-of-the-art PIM tech and decked out in signature Starkitecture. I think that's a new word, is it? Starkitecture? I think that's quite...
Yeah. And you know what PIM is now, so that's exciting.
That's right. I remember that from last time. Starkitecture style, the venue offers surprises in all shapes and sizes, from the tiniest design Easter eggs to the larger-than-life story that takes place. True to its name, Worlds of Marvel will take families on a flavorful tour of the real and fictional settings of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with dishes inspired by legendary locales like African Wakanda, Eastern European Sokovia, and the Avengers home base of New York City. Worlds of Marvel will feature an original storyline starring fan-favorite Avengers and an infamous foe. So, It's like the Frozen show, but probably more adult and for, Marvel fans.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it sounds kind of cheesy. Like it could be very, I don't know what the right comparison would be, but it sounds like it could be really hokey. But then they call it elegant upscale dining. And so maybe it's better than I'm thinking.
It's going to be like
still
a Pirates
concept.
Adventure dinner. You ever done like those Pirates Adventure or Medieval Times?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking Medieval Times, or the one I've been to is Dolly Parton Stampede.
That's a thing. I've never heard of that, but all right.
It's kind of like Medieval Times. There's horses and rodeo and stuff, but we went at Christmas.
Ooh, that was probably really nice. I like that. Country Christmas, cool. So yeah, I haven't even touched everything yet. Aladdin's going to be on the ship at the Walt Disney Theater along with 2 new stage shows that they didn't tell us yet. A Star Wars Hyperspace Lounge, a high-end bar styled as a luxurious yacht-class spaceship. This richly themed immersive experience will be reserved for adults every evening, offering interactive tasting experiences and signature beverages inspired by the films. This is, the minute I saw this, I was like, this is the... What is it called? Space 220 restaurant in Epcot, which will eventually open. It's going to have those giant windows, probably not as large, but they're going to have the windows with the, where you can look out into space. So it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and did you see Solo: A Star Wars Story?
I did, yeah.
So yeah, this is going to be Dryden Voss's ship is what it's themed to. And what's interesting, it's going to be kids during the day will be allowed in, but then it'll just be adult exclusive at night.
So what this comes down to is, on last week's episode where we were discussing cruise ships around the TV sitcom According to Jim, and I said, I think they need to have a Star Wars cruise ship and a Marvel cruise ship. They're like, screw it. We're putting them all in one ship. And we don't like your idea, Jeff, is essentially it. Or they heard it too late. I was just glad
that episode came out the day before.
I know.
I was like, cool, no one will think that we're stupid.
Well, unless they were listening to it later and then they're like, those idiots. No, but you listen, there's a lot of Star Wars and a lot of Marvel. In fact, I would say they highlighted so much more of that than even like traditional Disney stuff on this ship, or at least what we know, what they announced during this presentation. They really hyped Star Wars and Marvel quite a bit.
Yeah, although there are a few more adult things from classic Disney that also sound cool.
The new restaurant
based stuff
designed around Cogsworth.
Well, there's a Cogsworth one. I think the one I'm thinking of is Lumiere, and then there's the Rose Lounge, which is just generically Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, so there's some, like all the cruise ships, there's some adult-only areas, and they got it going on. And so, yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff on this cruise ship. If you're interested, bookings open to the general public on May 27th, and there's a whole slew of different groups, whether you're DVC or Castaway Club members, even a little bit before that. But the day for general public, May 27th, and it sounds really exciting. I genuinely want to go on this cruise.
I've never been on a Disney cruise. But I'm interested to see when I'll have the chance to do this one and hopefully go to a location that I want to go to and not just do it for the ship.
See, I couldn't care less about the location when it comes to the cruise ships. I'm like, no, especially a Disney cruise ship, I just need that ship. I'll meet you there. Sound good?
Sure.
Excellent. Let's do it. But guess what? Some more good news. Disneyland reopened.
Yes, it did. I didn't go.
I didn't yet either. I'm actually going the day after this episode releases, so I'll be there. But I gotta say, it looks like if you're like a Disney Parks fan for pretty much the rides and the rides alone, it seems to be like the time to go. This is like the early days of Walt Disney World reopening where the waits are low and the streets are empty. So... just saying, if you want to do just the rides, and if you live in California, now might be the time to do it.
Yeah, surprisingly, Disney still hasn't changed that stance, even with the new guidelines and some interpretations that they could open to fully vaccinated people outside of state. I think they're just sticking with it for now. So we'll see if that changes, maybe even by the time this episode comes out. But for now, California residents only.
I don't blame them, though, because, first of all, it seems like Disney and the government are having a little bit of a match, and they have to put to prove that they are vaccinated, and if they're out of state, there's just extra levels of things that Disney would have to do. So I don't blame them. I'm sure it's frustrating for anybody who wants to come visit, but I don't blame them, and give it a month or two, and I'm sure things will change.
Yeah, and you say you're sure things will change. It could go the other way, so they don't want to have bookings and have to go through canceling them again, I'm sure.
That is true as well. But I guess if you're vaccinated, you're vaccinated, right? But I guess the governor could change the rules.
If they still need to clamp down.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. We did see some cultural sensitivity changes with Loud Bang's Pin Traders, as well as the Loud Bang and Company Fireworks wall decor over in Disneyland. They've been renamed to the Pan Pacific Pin Traders and the Red Dragon and Company Firework Factory. This is just happening across the board. There's, not everything's getting big announcements. Some of it's just, I don't think Disney announced this, right? This was just something that was caught by people in the parks, I believe.
Yeah, so the Mural is at Frontierland, and then the pin trading station is over there by kind of like near the entrance to Paradise Pier and
Pixar Pier, yeah.
Yes, Pixar Pier. Wow, I haven't been in a long time. and Ariel's. So that's the pin cart.
It's not Ariel's. You're talking about the ride. I thought you meant the restaurant for a second. I'm like, that's not Ariel's Grotto.
No, I've been there since then.
Lamplight Lounge. Okay.
It's a Lamplight Lounge.
Yeah. So yeah, those have been changed. The rides look great. I've been trying to avoid spoilers and stuff, but like not even just Haunted Mansion and Snow White, which we know have been updated, but like in general, things look vibrant. Like I'm very happy to see the park has been taken well care of. It does seem like they've taken good advantage of the time that they've had with an empty park, which is, a benefit in some when it comes to cleaning up things. I think the funny thing is we see a giant, massive show building now in Toontown that just has a sign on it that says like, what building? We don't see a building or something like that. Because right now it sticks out like a sore thumb. Of course, it will be disguised as they continue to work on it. But yeah, it's exciting to see so much newness in the park.
Yeah, I guess we didn't quite know what to expect. We were just hoping that the projects they'd announced made progress, but then they had all these like little surprise things, like the cleaning up of the statues and, as you mentioned, just little things on the ride. So it's cool to see it. The last year did not go completely to waste.
No, it certainly didn't. And listen, they got deep pockets, so as much as they hurt monetarily last year, it's not like they were like, we don't have money to clean anything. They have plenty of money to clean stuff, and they used it, so great. We also got news that the Jungle Cruise is reopening this summer with the changes at Disneyland, unlike over at Magic Kingdom where they're gradually doing it with the rides still open. So we will have an updated Jungle Cruise this summer at Disneyland. Pretty exciting.
That'll be interesting, because right now they're using the Jungle Cruise queue for Indiana Jones. So I guess they're hoping that capacity will increase, we've had even the update now where they're starting to say 3 feet instead of 6 feet. So if Disney can start to shrink those queues a little bit, I'm sure that'll be very helpful, especially at Disneyland where they don't have an abundance of space.
Yeah, it is. The queue situation is interesting because they have to keep the queues outdoors essentially. So
right.
Yeah, that's a real struggle for Disneyland. The park wasn't designed for that. So, yeah, it makes sense. And that might even delay Jungle Cruise opening if, they're at a point where they still need to use that as an extended queue. So that's really, really interesting.
Well, luckily for them, summer goes all the way until September.
It's true. Let's move on to a bit of very exciting news in my book. Muppet Man is a biopic being worked on about the life of Jim Henson. The reason I got really interested in this one is because I read a script called Muppet Man numerous years ago now. That one was written by Christopher Weeks. And I'm going to read you just the beginning of this script, because when I heard that Muppet Man, like specifically, same title even, when I heard that this was being made, I was like, it can't be the one I read. This is how it starts. Kermit the Frog, 20 years older than we've ever seen him before, wakes from a drunken nightmare. He stares, bloodshot, at a whiskey bottle on his bedside. A 3-day growth giving his felt chin a strongly pronounced 6 o'clock shadow. He struggles out of bed, hobbling to his window. Scratching his green butt, Kermit stares down into the street. All right, so this was obviously a Kermit the Frog we don't typically see, a Kermit the Frog I don't think Disney would present, and I really liked this script. This beginning is weird, but we see like kind of a downtrodden Kermit as we learn about the life of Jim Henson, and I remember reading this, and the movie ends, or the script ended at Jim Henson's memorial service. And I remember like reading this on an airplane, sobbing and like feeling like a real idiot. I'm like, anybody looking at me is just having a good laugh right now. But it was such a good script. Granted, they're not doing that script, but they are doing a script by the same name as according to Deadline. And Michael Mitnick will be writing the script for Muppet Man, a live-action film currently in the works for Disney and the Jim Henson Company about the life of Jim Henson. Henson's daughter, Lisa Henson, will be producing the film, with Mitnick writing a previous version of the script that was done by Aaron and Jordan Candle. So, obviously, there have been a lot of people trying to write a Jim Henson biopic, and it sounds like it's finally getting done. I'm thrilled about this.
Yeah, and the part I saw is that it will specifically look at him taking the Muppets to the different networks and then seeing the popularity. So it'll probably cover other parts of his life, but it'll be more specifically just that section, which I think will work well. I like biopics where they don't try to do the entire story. They focus on, like, Steve Jobs is one that comes to mind, the Aaron Sorkin one, where it's really just a few scenes at different product launches throughout Steve's career that kind of tell a larger story about his life. I think that worked well. Or even like something like Saving Mr. Banks, which wasn't a Walt Disney biopic by any means, but it still gave you enough Walt Disney and told you a part about his life through, and her life as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but did anybody call Tom Hanks and tell him to start losing some weight so that he can play Jim Henson, or like, has he gotten that call yet?
He can't play both icons.
Walt Disney, Mr. Rogers, who else?
He can't play all the icons. I
mean, apparently he does. So,
do you have any casting ideas besides Tom Hanks?
For Jim Henson, I really don't. I can't. I mean, I've met people. I've met some voiceover directors that there's this one guy I'm thinking of, and I'm like, oh God, he looks like a young Jim Henson. But as far as actors, I can't really think of anybody. And frankly, I would love a nobody to do it and kind of impress everybody. Do you have somebody in mind?
Not really. I quite honestly, as much as I enjoy the Muppets, I have never studied Jim Henson himself that much to know what a good choice would be.
He's very soft spoken. I don't know what a good
I know what he
choice
looks like, but I don't know his. Yeah, like you're saying, his soft spoken. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm excited. I hope it moves forward and we finally get it. And before we go, one thing that came in right before we started recording, we got the good news that the Disney College program is returning to Walt Disney World in June. And they are making exceptions for folks who recently graduated if they want to apply. And folks who had their assignments ended early, they're being reached out to and can reapply and everything. So sounds like they're doing it right. Of course, listen, this means that Walt Disney World is opening more and more and more, and they want cheap labor. So that's good news. But, it'd be nice for good paid labor as well.
People love that program, though. I mean, it's one of those things where you're not going to make a ton of money, but you're going to make a lot of lifelong friends if you do it right.
Not only that, but also it's a good stepping stone into the company. If it's really your goal to just work for Disney, and listen, at general rule, don't set your mind on just one company, because anything could happen, and you'll just be devastated. But if you really do want to work for...
Anything can happen. What sort of things, Jeff? The last year has taught us anything.
If you want to work for Disney, it's a great stepping stone. I know a lot of people who stick around after the college program. And I've heard some people just be like, what do you need the college program for? Just apply for a job there. I think it's a little easier to get into the college program. I could be mistaken, but I think it's, and at the very, you're going to learn a lot more being in the college program. They're teaching you things. There are classes and such that you go to. I think it's a much better learning experience than an entry-level job into the company. So it's great that it's coming back. I know a lot of people were disappointed. I actually know people who were canned, who went for 2 or 3 weeks and then had to go home. So yeah, it's disappointing that happened, but obviously it had to, and it's back, or it's coming back very soon, so that's great.
Indeed.
Excellent. Anything else you want to add about this all great news this week, Kyle?
Yeah, and positive news. It's very exciting. I'm excited to go to Disney at some point, one of the parks. I think I'm going to Walt Disney World in August, so that'll probably be my next Disney trip, and then as soon as France starts letting Americans back in, I'm very excited to hopefully make use of my annual pass. We'll see.
I am supposed to. This is now my third attempt to going to England, and I've now got a vacation planned for December, and it's a 2-hour train ride to Disneyland Paris, and I fully intend to go there. I sure as heck hope by December they're good and clear, because yes, is that the only one closed right? No, we got the Hong Kong shut down at the moment as well, right?
I think Hong Kong is open again.
Or just partial. Yeah, I can't even keep track anymore. But Disneyland Paris.
I honestly don't remember. I'm going to have to look it up afterwards. I'm pretty sure Hong Kong's back open. And man, if we could ever use a DeLorean time machine, it would be right now.
It would, indeed. Excellent. Well, Kyle, thanks for joining for the news, and I'll see you again in a couple weeks.
See you then.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes at DisneyCoastToCoast.com or find the link to the show notes in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. Call 818-860-2569, leave a voicemail sharing your thoughts, and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Once again, that's 818-860-2569, or simply look in this episode's description for the phone number along with the link for some free gifts from me to you. If you haven't listened yet, check out the latest episode for the return of Primetime at the Parks. There aren't many Disney Park sitcom visits left to discuss, so that series is almost over. And next week, I have a special interview for you celebrating the return of an OG Disney Plus series. The easiest way to make sure you don't miss any of the magic is by subscribing to Disney Coast to Coast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Wherever you search, don't forget, it's Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast. As always, thank you to those of you who support the show on Patreon. You make all of this possible. If you enjoy these honest conversations about Disney and have the means, please consider becoming a member of the DCTC community over at patreon.com/DisneyCTC for far less than the cost of a Dole Whip. Plus, you'll gain rewards. You can find that link in this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.